Hello, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to the Stream of Consciousness. This is the stream where we talk diversity, design, and discourse, and I am your host, Dichotomous Prime, aka Vince. I am a West Indian bi tabletop game creator. I do sensitivity reading and cultural consultation in the tabletop space, as well as mechanics and narrative design. And as you can see from the title below, we are continuing our playthrough of Horizon Zero Dawn today, and talking about some of the different world building elements that go into this game. I hope that everyone has had a lovely weekend, and if you happen to still be on that gig economy grind, because we all know what that's like, hopefully we can get your week started off well. Hello there, Krana's Angel. Welcome on in. I hope that you are having a lovely time chilling this afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, no, there's, I keep noticing that I keep getting dragged back and forth in a very on-brand ADHD way between the gathering and the side quests and the main quests. So I think we're gonna try and get the kind of, I was about to say main side quests, but that also doesn't make any sense, out of the way today, as we make our way towards Meridian, because I swear we're gonna get there eventually. But yeah, I'm drinking mint tea, which is meat tea. That's what we make potions out of. That's not what you were saying. Mint tea, which is pretty cool. Mint tea is a good time. It's definitely, that reminds me, I need to get a new teapot, because my old one, meat tea looks like a euphemism for blood. Yeah, that's also very possible, and slightly disturbing as well. But yeah, my old teapot got put in the dishwasher, and we didn't realize that the glass is not dishwasher friendly, so it cracked. But it's one of those real nice ones with the little like steeper in it. So I'm gonna have to pick up another one of those, because at least when it's not super hot out, tea is nice to have, and a good little like slow burn of caffeine while you're working on stuff, you know? But yeah, so we'll be talking about some of the ways that real life historical narratives inform fantasy and sci-fi world building. If you're someone who's followed me on Twitter, we've had plenty of these discussions having to do with Dungeons and Dragons and kind of classical and contemporary fantasy in general. You'll see kind of discussions on things like, you know, orcs being coded as, like, you know, tribal in a way that is denigrating in some sorts of different ways, to where, like, you know, if some wag shows up in the comments, you know, Slapnut69 with 6 followers shows up in the comments and goes like, you know, well, orcs, don't you know that orcs aren't real? And it's like, yes, we understand that. However, the various different sets of traits that get coded onto these fantasy races have implications for the way in which people tend to caricature various different ethnicities of people in real life in ways that are not super great. And so it behooves us to actually talk about that sort of thing, so that when we go to do our own kind of world building, we can do it with literacy and with knowledge in mind to avoid some of those harmful tropes. Meat tea sounds interesting, like drinking beef broth. You see, I can at least get down with, like, you know, beef broth. We'll take that as like the better English translation. You know, if you put that through Babelfish sometimes. Oh my god, Babelfish. Did I just age myself? I'm pretty sure I just dated myself by saying that. Google Translate will say, if you put beef broth into Google Translate, you get meat tea. Hila RPG says, hell yes, I finally got to catch a stream, and hell yes, we're glad to have you here on this Monday there, Hila. Would you like me to call that? RPGs sounds probably too generic. You let me know whichever one works best for you, but it is lovely to have you here on this Monday. You go to a late night dance party and there's meat tea doing breakdancing. Oh god, now we're into the performer and DJ names for it. Oh, it's only going downhill from here. But yeah, it should be a good time. The shenanigans are in full force, and I am entirely here for it. Speaking of things that I'm also here for, I hope that everybody at home is hydrating to the best of your ability. Got yourself something good to drink, so you're taking care of yourself. If you got something good to eat, and if you got some meds that you need to take, you make sure and take them, because you deserve to enjoy the stream of consciousness in the maximum amount of comfort possible. You just deserve that. It's good to have. The world gives you enough ways to make you uncomfortable and in pain at various different times. Please come by the stream, treat yourself well, and chillax, and we'll have a good time. Let's see. Broccoli breaking down. Oh my god, now that is that's a callback that no one else in this chat is going to get. But yeah, let's see. Since the talks that I was talking about giving on Twitter are probably easier explained using the game in question, I think that we will start right up launching that over here. And unfortunately, the upbeat haiku beats need to fade away until we do our BRB later on in the streams, which I will also queue up. Goodbye, upbeat beats. We will see you later. And beautiful. Okay. So, for those of you who, well, let me just try and not strangle myself in my various headphone cords here. For those of you who don't follow me on Twitter, I was talking a little bit today about how one of the things that Horizon Zero Dawn is praised for is that there are a great diversity of different kind of ethnicities amongst all of the NPCs. You see East Asian faces, you see Pacific Islanders, you see like Southeast Asia and like black faces, actual like black people, not blackface. That would be terrible and would actually take more effort to institute in a video game. So God hope we don't see that. And that's excellent. However, when we start kind of talking about the different factions in the game, it kind of starts to get coded along certain lines that we're used to seeing in sci-fi and in fantasy sorts of world building. Like you'll have the martial race and the merchant race, and you know, we even actually, because I forgot to queue up exclamation point discourse, boop, which we were kind of talking about a little bit with respect to Native American and indigenous sorts of outfits and different kinds of terminology having to do with that, and you know, the various different sources are available beyond exclamation point sources as well. But something that I did notice, and I don't know if we're actually going to run into it here, but when I was listening to some of the NPC barks about, let me actually see here if we have some machine catalog, game progression. Is there not a section in here for just like the people? There's the machine catalog, collectibles, data points, game progression. Interesting. So there isn't a section for the different tribes. That's an interesting design choice. I'm gonna have to, that's a lot to unpack. I'm gonna have to think about that for a little while. But basically, so we've run into the Nora, which is the people that Aloy comes from. We've run into the Karja, who are kind of, looking at their armor, is kind of modeled after certain kinds of conquistador, like Spanish conquistador armor, with some of the headdresses more resembling like Mexica, but then also like there's a little bit of nod to like Roman sorts of headdresses, like there are feathers instead of like the horse brush. And from the stories that we've talked about from the different NPCs, them being like kind of the historically conquering or like kind of colonial sorts of people, that seems to match. But and so that being said, we're not going to really worry too much about the people who are portrayed having to do with the colonizing Spanish conquistadors, because those are the people who don't really struggle to be represented in historical media a whole lot. If anything, they may be overrepresented. But one thing I noticed was with the Oseram, which are these people. Let's see, this is mostly a Karja settlement, but I believe like this woman here is Oseram, for instance. And they're kind of modeled as your tinkerers, your inventors, and your merchants. And I noticed something while I was walking around and listening to some of the NPC barks. One of them was saying like, you know, my wife was saying that she got ripped off by one of those Oseram merchants. Another one talking to another NPC. Did my game just like die for some reason? That was a little bit strange. Um, Another one was saying that like with the you know, if you get Oseram more than like a couple in the room, you know that they're going to be arguing for hours. And then of course you have that they are uh, the the inventors and the smiths and things like that. Um, and in particular, on one of these little areas, there was more than once there was someone that was saying like, so the Oseram can make a couple of little inventions, but they need a firm hand to direct them. And it's like, oh, hello there, Tenny. Welcome on in. We're just having a little bit of a chat of the portrayal of the Oseram in the game, and how they kind of resemble some particular historical tropes. So, on its own, the idea that like there are people who they have robust trade, they make stuff that's awesome, and you get them in a room and they're all going to argue with each other. On its own, not too bad. However, a lot of those tropes you might be recognizing have been used to not great. I should say not great, really, Vince. You're gonna understate it that hard. They've been used as anti-Semitic tropes, specifically in Europe, having to do with, for instance, very long time. Um, let's see. My words got jumbled in my head for a quick moment there. Um, for a long time, money lending and like be working the legal profession and things like that were, if you were unaware, some of the only jobs that Jewish people were allowed to hold. And kind of post the French Revolution, the I forget the name of the organization, but one of Russia's secret police, the first kind of secret police and precursor to the KGB, actually penned a fake document that kind of placed the reason for the French Revolution on European Jews. You might recognize it. It's called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and it's kind of the precursor to pretty much anti-Semitism of most kinds. And so basically, a lot of these sorts of different things ended up like restricting what sorts of professions Jewish people were allowed to have. And then they were further kind of like stereotyped into those different things. So the reason why I bring this up is the whole thing of them being stereotyped is it kind of led to the idea of like the crafty Jew and like all of that sort of horrible shit. There's historical roots for that sort of thing, and so historical roots of horrible systemic racism. Systemic racism, that's a redundant term. Racism is systemic. Anyways, my point in saying all this, essentially, is that when people who are not literate in where certain tropes come from, and just kind of, you know, because you see this in a lot of different things. When we were playing No Man's Sky, I made the same comment about the Gek. They're the little, like, kind of lizard frog dudes who are like, oh, look, all we care about is, like, money and everything. And I'm like, that's not great. Is that when people just kind of make the martial race, like orcs, or the merchant race, like the Gek, or merchant culture, if you want to have something like Horizon Zero Dawn. And they just kind of place them being like, all right, so this one's this one is this one, and this one is this one. But there are implications to those different sorts of things. To where you can't, or at the very least shouldn't, throw them around without knowing where they come from. Especially when you have a story the same way that Horizon Zero Dawn's story is, which involves a lot of, like, colonialism and oppression. In this one, having to do with the Karja, and, you know, the whole thing of, like, the different regimes of, like, the old Sun King and, like, the new Sun King and everything like that aside, there are power dynamics. You can see that, like, the Karja are much better armed. Their fortifications are much larger. Their cities are much larger. To where there is an element of colonialism and imperialism here. And that is not to say that broaching the subject is bad in any video game or in any media. And each one individually should be, like, evaluated in terms of, like, the people whose stories get echoed, do they get control over the portrayal of them within a video game or within any form of media? And that was the problem that a lot of Native American and First Nations individuals had with the use of their clothing and different sorts of terms like brave in general. Oh my goodness. I just heard a huge thunderclap and my dog and I are scared. I'm gonna go take care of him. This is a really good talk though. Please take care of yourself, Krana's Angel. Completely understandable. I hope you two are okay and can come back later if you happen to be feeling a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, so this is not to say that you aren't, or you are or aren't allowed to talk about these sorts of things. But there's a phrase that the POC in chat will probably be familiar with. White folks, maybe a bit less so, is the phrase, nothing about us without us. And so when you're kind of taking from these historical narratives and applying them to a new context, you kind of have to look to how those different things map on to the new context. And to do that, you need to have knowledge of the old context in which they existed. And so it can be inadvertently or otherwise actually quite harmful to just kind of, like, pastiche these things, like different kinds of toys that you can play with, onto a sci-fi setting or a fantasy setting. Even if you give it a new name and give it, like, oh, look, they're lizards who breathe through their backs. It's like, okay, cool, but they're still, like, space merchants who are obsessed with money, or, like, you know, all of these sorts of different things. And while it might feel a little bit silly to go, like, okay, well, what the people in the game, like, they have reason for thinking that they're like this, and it's like, yes, the people in the game do, but the people in the game are scripted by people in real life. And while the game might be post-apocalypse and maybe not affected by those things, the people who write the dialogue for the game live in a world that very much is. And so it's very valuable to kind of keep in mind that sort of thing, so that you don't unknowingly perpetuate these sorts of things. Because I don't think that anyone who worked on the narrative design for this game meant to harm anyone individually. Harm done inadvertently is still harm, and it's valuable to keep that in mind. So those are kind of my general thoughts on that. Insofar as, like, the history of European anti-Semitism, that's something that is beyond the pale for me to really go into. A episode of a podcast that I recommend is the episode of the podcast Behind the Bastards, about the creation of the protocols of the protocols of the Elders of Zion and the origins of European anti-Semitism, as well as looking at the primary sources in there, because we've all been recommended podcasts and then use those as primary sources, and that never ends well. So yeah, no, I highly recommend everyone check that out, as well as continue following the source back and do some research on this sort of stuff, because it's valuable to know the origins of the tools that you're using in your fiction. So there we are. Okay, I actually remember good friend of the pod, friend of the stream, Amar, was telling me about there's a couple of games that were coming out that were advertised. Let's see, let me get an objective so that I'm not trying to brain and talk at the same time. Ooh, there's corrupted areas over here. We can start dealing with those. And there's another Thunderjaw area, so we can also deal with that. Okay. Wait, we were gonna do quests. Yes, so let's start doing quests. Daughter's Vengeance, cool. Where's Lonesome Rock? Lonesome Rock is way the fuck over there. Okay, cool, we can do that. Basically, Amr was telling me about some of these games that were coming out that, they were saying stuff about, it's great that there is representation of POC in this game. However, all of the POC are tropes, and that is a way of describing it that I've become kind of accustomed to, that I want to kind of integrate, because you have stereotypes in it, like the term stereotype, but it's it's hard to say an individual is a stereotype unless it's really, really blatant. But saying that someone is a trope is okay, so that doesn't necessarily mean that you are Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's with the big buck teeth doing the super offensive Asian accent. But if you are the daughter of a daimyo and the one Asian character in a game, and you wield dual katanas or something, probably not great. There may be people who wield dual blades and things like that in various different East Asian culture, but if you are emblematic of a single thing, not awesome. Usually not a good choice to make. And that kind of echoes the sorts of things that I'm kind of talking about, come on, let's do the radial menu thing correctly, thank you. Being that maybe the individual one isn't blatantly offensive, but each of these different kinds of things exist in a context. Oh, hi, you have to die. There we go. Hey, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna have to murk you real quick. Really, I missed. Alright. That was interesting. But yeah, it's always good to know where the tools that you're choosing to use come from, because for many people, they aren't just tools. They have a significance that it's important to respect, and if necessary, even avoid. Sometimes you're not the person to tell the story. And that's that includes even if you have an affection and a love for something. Hope everyone's been doing well. Yep, we do it okay. I have managed to not set anything on fire in the few minutes since you've been gone, but, the night is still young. Oh, you look small! That's also probably because I'm up here and you're down there. So I should probably still take care to remove all of your shit. Are there glint hawks around here? That sucks. Okay, I would like to tag you, please. Yes. Okay, luckily you just do like a pretty basic patrol, it looks like. Alright. Is there... I mean, what I would love... Yep, I'm aware. I don't know how he saw me, but I'm not... Or didn't see me, but I'm not gonna question it. This is an interesting pattern that he's following. Well, nope. Here, let me literally hide behind this, like, tiny little bit of shrub. Yep, no, you just... take your fucking genius bar T-Rex ass over there. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, and you're gonna run right over that as soon as you hit it. Oh, I should change out my weapons, because I had my rope caster out, because I was doing some... whatchamahoosit, I was doing some tutorial-related things to get XP. Alright, so we're gonna go... You can't see me. You don't know where I am. Okay, so stealth time is over. Let's go into the actual defensive armor. Damn, okay. Oh wow, I can't mantle up any of this, huh? Here you go. Present for you. Yeah, eat shit. Alright, there goes one cannon. Or not. Alright, there goes one cannon. Okay, if I could get up here, please, that would be rad. You still have a disc launcher left, and that is not gonna fly, pal. Mr. Man. There goes the other one. Perfect. Did you not come down here? Okay, better. Now, where do you drop your disc launcher? Okay, that is not gonna do. Did I seriously not blast that off of you yet? Okay, I would like this, please.
Now this thing's dangerous.
There we go. All right. Thunderjaws, or as I like to call them, XP loot boxes. Is there any other stuff? Oh, hello. Oh, did I accidentally? Oh, yeah, don't touch that. That's, yeah, that could have ended badly. Oh, did you, or, okay, cool. Thank you, random citizen. I appreciate your backup. Alright. Oh, and I appreciate your sacrifice, apparently. Any other stuff up here? Nope, but I do need fatty meat from those rabbits. Let's hope that we get it. Nope, bony meat. It's funny, I don't actually need, like, the rare drops anymore. I just need a specific kind of meat because I can get, like, a fast travel resource pack that never runs out, and I want it.
Good for an old remedy.
So that's 4. I think I need 1 more. And then we'll be good. Yup. Fire kiln. And campfire is right down here. Hey, new save spot. Okay, so we got the Thunderjaw location. That's all set. And then that's not too far off, and that's a Glinthawk site. So, what does this sign say? Because my focus was translating something. Meridian's that way. Okay, cool. So then we are not going to be going that way, and instead, we're going to continue up here.
Saving these for the trail.
And I'm going to put my stealth outfit back on. I do enjoy that this game has the, like, the Skyrim-esque, like, decision that being in your menu stops time and everything, so that, like, you know, I can eat 70 cheese wheels and, like, recover all of my health, or switch my outfit from, like, the stealth outfit to the melee-resistant outfit at the blink of an eye, because, whew, that would be real tough to deal with if I couldn't do that. Ooh, ancient debris. Come on, give me something good. Ancient metal eye. Oh yeah, there's probably a bunch of that crap that I haven't sold in a little while. Ooh. Don't need any of that. Scrapper, scrapper. So is that a site or is that just a campfire? I think that's just a campfire. Now I don't need anything from these guys, and those are just watchers. So which one is the less of a pain in the ass to just get by and kill all of them, or sneak by, is the question. And the answer is probably these guys. Oh, that looks ominous. And might as well top out my
This must be
healing
Lonesome.
flask.
If it's a trap, I might need to go in quiet.
I actually forget what they were gonna say was gonna happen at Lonesome Rock. Who left the sacred land and looked for information about Nakoa. Okay. Well, I got my stealth outfit for stealthing. I should make some more arrows, though. Don't know how many tear blast arrows I'm actually going to need for this, but I have them just in case.
Huh. Seems like an ordinary outpost. I'd better look around.
Okie dokie.
I'm bored with you talking about being bored.
I'm bored with you complaining about me being bored.
I wasn't complaining about you being bored. I was complaining about your complaining.
Well, now I'm complaining about your
The
complaining.
craft of writing, ladies and gentlemen.
You don't shut up. Hold, Outlander. What are you doing here?
Yeah, that's not.
Prefect Saeed told me that bandits abducted a girl near here. Do you know where they might have taken her?
Zaid told you that, did he? Huh. No bandits around here, girl. But I think I can help you find your friend. The boss sent us a fresh one, boys. Wrap her
There we
up
go.
and tie her down. To me, you chumps.
Y'all, for real. We're gonna do this. Okay, cool. So, just in case, because wrap her up and tie her down doesn't sound great, let's just throw up a CWTW real quick, before I murk these fools. Just in case we're getting into some human trafficking grossness. So please, by all means, if you want to take a couple of minutes, if these thieves happen to come out, take 10, take 15, whatever you need, and come back and we'll let you know if the coast is clear. Anyways, let's kill some shitheads with bombs. Are you actually... Wow, that seems... So, is the game just going to... So now the game has decided to freeze up. Okay, well, I guess restarting the game would be an excellent example, or an excellent opportunity to give people another couple of minutes to... take a second and do... Okay, so, but actually, where's the task manager? Okay, here we go. Alright, so I'm gonna put it on BRB real quick while the game decides to actually start responding. And when we come back, we will take care of that. So, I'll flip you over to BRB and mute myself for a moment. Okay, so we're back. I'm still trying to figure out a way to... One, the Windows appears to have stolen my task manager. It has joined the dark side, whereas it was supposed to be the one to save us. No, it was the one to destroy us. In the way that... yeah, no, I am figuring that out. But it's giving me a couple of minutes to kind of muse on the task manager is being held hostage. It's not only that, Krana's Angel, but it is being held hostage on the monitor that I play Horizon Zero Dawn on. And Horizon Zero Dawn is on full screen, so it's just kind of like, oh, okay, I can see it, but or rather, I can see it in the taskbar at the bottom, but it just kind of won't let me open it up. So yeah, that's real interesting. That's real fun. So let's see here, and I've tried going to Steam and trying to turn off the game directly, but that also doesn't seem to be working. So that's amazing, and I love that for me. But basically, this is also giving me time to kind of think about for a moment how I wish that there was a... In the same way that there are repositories where you can find trigger warning lists for various different forms of media, that there was an equivalent kind of list for video games. Because when we're kind of building up to, like, I was talking with Pleasantly Twisted about this actually the other day, probably like a little while ago actually, and how, like, there are websites like How Long to Beat, which will tell you approximately how many hours it will, you know, does what it says on the tin, tells you how many hours a game is estimated to take to complete, depending on if you're a completionist or if you're just doing a story and no side missions or whatever. So I would love if there was a similar repository for that, for content warnings for games, because other than that, you pretty much just have to rely on the people around you who have played the games. And of course, different people from different sorts of demographics will have, like, different sorts of ideas about, like, you know, remembering what things are worthy of mention, as well as just human memory kind of sucks. So it's very reasonable for people to have completely forgotten, like, if there is a particular warning or something about a game, or if there's a particular trigger or something that occurs in a game, because games are like 30, 40, 50 hours, 100 hours. So with all of those kind of different side quests, it's easy to just kind of forget. Alright, so I'm not entirely sure what the play is here, team, because I might actually have to just hard restart. So what I'm actually gonna do is do that, and I will be back in about 10-15 minutes. I'll probably have to, like, start up the stream again, but we can do that, and I think that's pretty much the way that I'm gonna have to deal with this, because right now it's not really offering me a whole lot of different options. So we will be back, and I mean, like, back, like, stream's gonna end and I'll come back in like 15 minutes, probably less, and we'll give it another shot. So I will be right back.